So by now we all know that Melania Trump's name has appeared repeatedly in the batch of Epstein files produced by Donald Trump's Department of Justice. She was emailing Ghislaine Maxwell back in 2002, calling Ghislaine Maxwell G, applauding Ghislaine Maxwell for the New York Magazine feature on J.E., Jeffrey Epstein. That's the article where Donald Trump said that Epstein is a great guy who likes women on the younger side. She said that Ghislaine looked amazing in the photos in New York Magazine. Ghislaine Maxwell responded to Melania, called her Sweet Pea, said she was too busy to meet with Melania in New York, but that they would figure out a time to meet soon. So we know that. That's undisputed. We know that Melania had this relationship with Ghislaine. It's in the files, right? But Melania is still going to court and pretending that didn't take place at all. Melania just filed a very shocking document in federal court in New York in her ongoing lawsuit with Michael Wolff. She didn't sue Wolff. Wolff sued her. Remember what happened here? She threatened to sue Wolff and said that he defamed her by saying certain things about her relationship to Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine, which she denied. She said that her reputation was damaged to the tune of $1 billion based on what she said were false allegations by Michael Wolff. She said, if you don't apologize to me and retract by such and such a date, I forget the mid-October, I'm going to sue you for $1 billion. Michael Wolff then sued Melania for chilling his First Amendment speech. He filed what's called an anti-SLAPP lawsuit in New York State Court. Melania avoided service. She ducked and dodged and weaved to avoid a process server handing her Wolff's lawsuit. Wolff filed in state court. She eventually appears in federal court, and she did what's called a removal. And she said, the case doesn't belong in New York State Court because I don't live in New York. I live in Florida, she says, at Mar-a-Lago. That's my residence. And because I live in Florida, you live in New York, and the amount in controversy is over $75,000. The case belongs in Florida federal court. So I'm going to ask, she says, a New York federal judge to transfer the case to a Florida federal court and/or have a New York federal judge dismiss it. And Melania argues, I was never served, so the case should be dismissed because I avoided getting served with the document. And then she said she's not from New York and that there's no jurisdiction and that it violates her due process rights to be sued in New York. So then in response to that filing, Michael Wolff did a filing and said, hey, did everybody see the Melania movie? She's in New York the entire time. All the people close to her live in New York. And Michael Wolff argued that it's an artifice. It's a fugazi. It's a fake. Sure, she may claim to live in Florida and have a Florida driver's license and a Florida mailing address, but she's just doing that in order to avoid connections with New York. But Wolff argues she's really from New York. And so the case belongs in New York State Court. It shouldn't be removed to New York Federal Court and then transferred to Florida Federal Court. And as we've speculated here on the Midas Touch Network, she's trying to get the case before Judge Eileen Cannon in Fort Pierce in Florida or another Trump-friendly judge there to try to get the case ultimately dismissed. Wolff says bring the case back to New York State Court. So this filing by Melania is a filing, and she just filed, and she said her reputation has still been damaged, she said, by Wolff to the tune of $1 billion. So she goes, notwithstanding the fact that she's in the Epstein files in the way that I described. An email from her to Ghislaine Maxwell in 2002 saying, gee, great spread with J.E., great article, words to that effect. And then Ghislaine Maxwell calls her Sweet Pea and would love to meet up soon. And I'm too busy right now, but we'll figure out a time. Despite that, and again, to me, That's pretty bad stuff. I mean, it shows, I'm giving you my opinion. So let me, again, just reiterate this, that I'm utilizing my First Amendment rights under the Constitution in this video. What I've said before, here, and after is protect. I'm giving you First Amendment opinion speech. So I'm giving you that disclaimer, but I'm describing, I think, fairly accurately I'll show you the emails, what are in the emails. You can read it yourself. I'm paraphrasing, but you can read the emails yourself. I think they're pretty damaging emails, but Melania still says, she still has the audacity to say that she's damaged to the tune of $1 million because she says her reputation is just so good that she's been damaged to, to so much money right here. Let's pull open what our argument is right here. And here's what she has to say. Let's take a look right here. The October 15th demand letter that she sent to Michael Wolff reserves the right to initiate defamation against plaintiff Wolff, seeking over $1 billion in damages. Melania says that figure was not plucked out of thin air. Mrs. Trump is one of the most high-profile people on the planet, and plaintiff Michael Wolff's repugnant, scandalous, and defamatory statements were maliciously intended to destroy Mrs. Trump's sterling reputation and sully her character. Mrs. Trump carried her minimal burden to show that it does not appear to a legal certainty that defendants' claims in which plaintiff seeks to avoid liability are worth more than $75,000. Her claims for $1 billion in damages were not plucked out of thin air. She goes, her reputation is stellar. When everyone thinks about First Lady Melania, they think stellar reputation. Didn't you see the latest polling that she's like the least